Hi there, this is Ranjit, and in this video I'm going to give out my thoughts, and you might think I'm gone crazy, and I'm going to talk about do the modern mid-range smartphones are more practical than the flagship counterparts. And this is going to sound very strange, guys, and just bear with me for about 5 minutes, listen to me for 5 minutes, and then you can share your thoughts in the YouTube comment section. And guys, I have been reviewing a lot of smartphones, you know that, and yes, the mid-range phones used to be very underpowered and crippled sort of till about 2015. But from 2016 onwards, I have noticed a lot of smartphones that were around the 15,000 price band and even lower that had incredible performance. And in fact, in one area, I would say they do far better than the flagships, that is in terms of battery life. And in fact, I would say these many of the new mid-range smartphones, for example, the Redmi Note 3 had great battery life. Now even the Redmi Note 4 has great battery life. The Moto Z Play had incredible battery life, the Lenovo P2, etc. All these smartphones have incredible battery life, I would say. Whereas, these get screen on time anywhere between 7 to 8.5 to 9 hours of screen on time with about 1.5 days of usage. Again, just think about it for the flagships. If you've seen my reviews for the flagship smartphones, if a flagship smartphone gets battery life of just about 4.5 hours, I say the battery life is good. But again, if it's on the mid-range, I would say 4.5 hours of battery life is bad, because generally the flagship smartphones battery life simply is not that great. The best case scenarios that I've seen with like the Galaxy S7 Edge and even the Pixel XL was about 5.5 hours of screen on time. But just compare it with other mid-range smartphones, most of them get about 7 to 9 hours of screen on time with similar kind of usage. So in one area where I feel the mid-range smartphones really excel is in terms of battery life. And again, earlier, as I told you, in around 2015, the performance of the mid-range smartphones was not that great. The gaming performance was not that good, and even the UI, it had a lot of lags and stuff. But lately, in 2016, and some of the new phones that have been just launched in 2017, they take the performance to another level. In gaming, they perform very well, and also in terms of UI and stuff, there is almost no lag that you'll notice. And most of these phones are coming with at least 3 gigabytes and 4 gigabytes RAM option. So in terms of general performance, many of these new mid-range phones, for example, the Moto Z Play, which I tested, had fabulous performance. The Lenovo P2 had great performance. The Redmi Note 3 and even the Honor 6X. I have to do the gaming. I didn't do the gaming test, but general performance was good. Battery life was good. And even one thing where many of the mid-range smartphones had a problem was in terms of camera. Yes, still, I would say if you want the best camera performance, you have to opt for the flagships, because the flagships just have far better camera. For example, the Samsung Galaxy S7, the Pixel have a camera that's in another class. That's one area still the flagships lead. And another area I would say where the flagship smartphones lead is in terms of display. With many of the leading high-end smartphones, you'll get Quad HD displays. Quad HD displays, I would say, to be frank, is not required for regular day-to-day usage. But again, if you plan to use VR headsets, then Quad HD does make sense, because if you use a 1080p screen with a VR headset, you can actually see the pixels. Even with the Quad HD, you can see the pixels, but it's not as annoying as on a 1080p screen. So if you plan to use VR and stuff, I would say the flagships still make sense. And again, in camera, yes, they still have an edge. But again, I'm seeing a huge change again in this early 2017. We have seen now new phones that are actually trying to improve the camera performance. And specifically, we are getting smartphones that are putting they're putting attention to the camera. For example, last year, we saw the Moto G4 Plus, which had a fabulous camera, but again, it had those heating issues and stuff like that. And again, this year, we have seen a few more new smartphones that in the mid-range price point. For example, this is the Honor 6X. It has that dual camera setup. So finally, manufacturers are paying attention to the camera. Again, it won't compete with the flagships, but again, the camera performance is hugely improved if we compare it to other mid-range smartphones. So it's not like you have to buy a flagship smartphone to get a good enough practical performance. In fact, in battery life, the mid-range smartphones will get you better life. In fact, I would say, let me give you a very crude example, and I'm going to compare this with the cars and stuff because it's easy to compare. For example, we have the BMWs and the Audis and the stuff. Think of these as the flagship smartphones. And again, we have things like Honda and stuff, Honda City and whatnot. These are mid-range cars. But again, these mid-range cars are way more practical in use, I would say. I know many of my friends have both the cars, and for daily usage, they actually use their Honda Cities and stuff because they say it's just more practical. The maintenance costs are a lot lower, and again, the fuel economy is also way better on these mid-range cars. For example, with a Honda City, you can get about 12 kilometers per liter. That is the mileage that you can get. But with the most of the BMWs and Audi, if they get about 6 to 6.5 kilometers per liter, they say it's a great mileage. So again, that talks about the battery life that I'm comparing. So a mid-range is way more practical, and also the costs are a lot lower. And yes, some people complain about many of these mid-range phones don't come with Gorilla Glass protection and anything. Guys, again, yes, it's nice to have Gorilla Glass protection and whatnot, but just look at this. This is my Pixel. It's broken from front and back. It's having a Gorilla Glass. It's not like if your device has Gorilla Glass and if you accidentally drop it, it won't break. There are very high chances of breaking it. As you can see, I broke my Pixel. And the repair cost for flagship smartphones is very, very high. I inquired the repair for the back. It was almost costing about 10,000 rupees. I didn't even bother to ask for the front one, because for the front one, they'll have to actually replace the entire display panel, and that'll cost a lot more. So again, the repair costs are also way higher with the flagship smartphones. So again, I'll give you one more example of Ash. Ash has this Kawasaki Ninja bike, and also he has one more two-wheeler. That's the Vigo. It's similar to Activa, and he says that he uses that Vigo a lot more than his Kawasaki Ninja, because the Vigo is more practical to move around in the city. With the Kawasaki Ninja, in traffic jams and stuff, it's difficult to maneuver, and the cost of maintaining the Ninja and the mileage, etc., is higher. So again, it comes down to practicality, or you want the best or whatnot. Again, you're not getting the best with the flagships. Again, the battery life, if you want battery life, which I feel is very practical, is much better on the mid-range smartphone. For example, let me give you my practical example. I generally use two phones, and lately from the past 6 months, I'm noticing that my primary SIM is not on my flagship smartphones, but on the mid-range smartphones that I'm testing. And that is due to the simple fact that the mid-range smartphones get me way better battery life. With the flagship, if I'm on a very heavy day, let's say I'm traveling from morning till evening, there's a good chance that my flagship might die around 7 or 8 p.m. if I don't charge it. But with many of the mid-range phones that have very powerful battery, I don't have to worry. That's the reason that I'm putting my primary SIM mostly in my mid-range smartphones, and my secondary SIM is on my flagship smartphone. But again, yes, if you want the best camera performance, still I would say the flagships are the way to go. Again, this is a classic example. Let me talk about the Moto Z Play. The Moto Z Play actually had great battery life, overall great performance, but in camera, it didn't do very well. And I think so Motorola intentionally crippled that device because the Moto Z Play did not have laser autofocusing system. Hence, it couldn't even compete with the Moto G4, which had laser autofocusing system. So again, it's saddened to see that manufacturers know this thing. If they make their mid-range phones really powerful with all the features, people won't buy the flagships. But again, things are changing, and you don't have to buy a flagship phones to get decent daily performance. And in many of the practical scenarios like battery life and stuff, I would say the mid-range makes a lot more sense. So again, guys, would love to know your thoughts about this topic. Do you think I've gone completely nuts, or does it make any sense? Again, love to hear your thoughts. So do share your thoughts in the YouTube comments below. And if you're not subscribed to my YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. This is Ranjit, and I hope to see you in my next video.